Hello, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Marquita here, and today I have a huge book haul for you. And these will be books that I have picked up for adding to my classroom library, for my personal reading, and also just some good bargains that I found. And these books will come from a combination of places. I never realized how expensive books have gotten now. I just recently went to Barnes and Noble where I spent $60 on 4 books. So I can't imagine what it's like trying to constantly buy books. Um, if you have a family or children, or if you just are a fast reader and you're trying to build a library. So Kindle and other audiobooks, Hoopla, Libby, where you can get them for free. Those are things that are now becoming making books more accessible, and I see why, because not hardbacks, but paper copies or hard copies of books have just gotten so expensive now. But I do like to have hard copies, and I like to have a library, so I did make the investment. But you don't have to break the bank all the time. You can find deals. Local Dollar Trees have great books sometimes. Again, it's like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, those type of stores. Dollar Tree is no different. It varies based on your area, where you live, the demographics in your area. So some Dollar Trees have better selections than others, and some focus more on kids books versus adult or young adult, like chapter books. So it just depends on where you are. But I would say don't rule out your local Dollar Tree. Check out the books and see if you can find it. I have found books in there that are currently in Barnes and Nobles on like their newer bestseller or popular books, and they are like 15-20 bucks, and they're $1.25 in Dollar Tree. So make sure you check those out if you are on the hunt for books or trying to build a library. Also, these books will come from Barnes and Noble, Dollar Tree, and I don't think I got any from Target. So I'm going to just share what I got, and I'll notate where I picked them up. But a lot of them are sold at pretty much all of these places, with the exception of Dollar Tree. You can find them at Target, at Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, any bookstore, anywhere that typically sells books. You can find most of them. So let's start with Target, just because these are sitting right next to me, and I just picked them up today actually. And one is going to my school library, and the other is a new one for me. So the first one I picked up for the school library is The Giver by Lois Lowry. Now, even though I do teach high school, this is just one of my favorite books. It's definitely in my top 10, probably even top 5 favorite books of all time. It has different versions. There's a movie out now, but The Giver is one of my favorite books. I read in like 6th grade, and I have loved it ever since. So I want to add this and just have it in my collection. So I highly recommend it, especially if you like kind of dystopian type stories. And this one is really good because it's a think piece on perfection and how we view things. Like, a lot of times we feel like if we had less crime, our world, or especially in the US right now, there's a big thing with guns. Like, if we had none, like, that would reduce the crime, which I believe it would. If you look at stats from other countries, it proves that. But just thinking about what would be a perfect world, or our our idea of a perfect world, most conflict is caused by differences, whether it be differences in who we are as people, in our thought processes, what our beliefs and morals are. All of those things cause conflict, war, crime, any type of thing like that. And the premise of The Giver is none of that exists. Everybody has kind of the same thing. You don't see color. Everything's in like black and white. So there really is nothing to make us different. But then there's also the question of, is there a good thing or a bad thing? Because even though differences can cause issues, they're also the things that make us unique, and what makes us, what makes things great as well, because we are different and unique, and we have our own thoughts, beliefs, and ideas, and we function and think and see things differently. So The Giver kind of is a good thought piece. So even though it is technically like a young adult book, I feel like this can be analyzed at any level, and you can get deeper with it, with just kind of tying it into our world today, and just your general thought processes and opinions on what would make this a better place. So again, The Giver by Lois Lowry, highly recommend. And I think at Target this was like $8.99 or $7.99. And you can find that anywhere, like Amazon, any bookstore, you can find The Giver. This looks like, I believe, a newer book from Colleen Hoover called Layla. Now, I have only read one other book by Colleen Hoover, and that was Verity, which I really did enjoy. And part of the reason that I chose Verity is because Verity was different from her standard, like It Ends With Us, It Begins With Us, all her other books that she has that were kind of like romancy books. And I didn't really want that type of book. So I did watch one of the movies on Netflix. I think she might have two now, but whichever the first one was on Netflix, I watched it. I didn't read the book. And while it was an okay storyline, I feel like it didn't make me want to read the book or any of the books kind of in that series. But I did really enjoy Verity. And I feel like Layla is more along the lines of Verity. It's a breakout from her standard, writing style or kind of story plot per se. And so I don't know much about it other than what the summary has, but I did pick this up today at Target. This will be from my personal collection. And again, it's called Layla, and this is Colleen Hoover. This one was, I think, like $12. It was like $11 and some change, so it's roughly $12. And it is one of her new books. All right, so those are the ones I picked from Target. Now let's get into Dollar Tree. I'm just trying to make sure I have them sorted. Yeah, let's get into Dollar Tree. So the first book here that I have, and I've picked up a ton of books probably over the past couple of weeks from Dollar Tree, but I've already taken them to work to add to my library. And there are some new ones, some that have Netflix series out. There's a lot of dark romance that seems to be the trend now, especially with young adult. There's a lot of dark romance books. You can find those in Dollar Tree. You can find them in TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls. I've actually found a few series dark romance books in those places. So if that is your thing right now, because it seems to be the trend, check those places first before you go to maybe like a Barnes and Noble or Books A Million and pay full price or close to full price. Check Dollar Tree, check TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls. The ones in there typically range between $6 and $10, so definitely a little bit cheaper than cover price. But this book I found was called Lift Every Voice, a celebration of Black lives, with a foreword by Oprah Winfrey and an introduction by Nicole Hannah-Jones. And one thing I want to say about this book is this book retailed for $40. It's in the cover, and this is not your traditional like Black hero book, meaning this is not your Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. These are more like your everyday heroes that still made history, still were Black first, or it could be from gender, like first Black female, first Black woman, first Black man, or it could just be first Black anything, to be in these positions or just stand out to where they are recognized. It is broken up into categories. Like, for example, chapter 2 is people who fall in the creativity category. So you have people like basketball coaches, architects, athletic directors, and they have some history. We have Vivian Penn, who's the first director of Office of Research on Women's Health. She's 81 years old. She's in Washington, D.C. So it has a photo of them, and then there's like a little interview. It's usually a couple pages of an interview giving you a little background on who they are or what they've done, and then just kind of briefly talking to them. So I think this is a good book to have because it highlights, more of your everyday person, which to young people, sometimes looking at these bigger celebrity figures, it's like they know who they are and they think they're awesome, but they also may have a hard time picturing themselves as being like them in terms of being able to have that level of impact. Whereas here are your everyday people with these stories that can show you that you don't have to necessarily be a huge celebrity, but you can still be a first. You can still make history. You can still be a trailblazer. So I would recommend this book. And again, for $1.25, I wish they had more than one. They only had this one. But I definitely will keep my eye out for it because this is a really good book to have. This will be in my personal collection. If I find a second one, I will add it to my school collection, but I definitely want to keep that for myself. And again, $1.25. Here's another book called Our Best Intentions, and I'm probably about to tear this name up. It looks like Vibhuti Jain or John. This one was in Dollar Tree again, $1.25. And this is a novel that sounds really good. This is the author's first book. I'm going to show you her just so you can get an idea. She lives in Johannesburg, South Africa with her husband and daughter, where she works in international development finance. She began her career as a corporate lawyer in New York City. She holds a degree from Yale University and Harvard Law School, and this is her first novel. And this novel is about an immigrant family that's caught in the middle of a criminal investigation. And reading the back really caught my attention. During the summer break one day, Angie, the teenage daughter of Indian immigrant Babar Singh, is walking home after swimming at the high school pool when she finds Henry McCleary, a white classmate from a wealthy family, stabbed and bleeding on the football field. The police immediately focus their investigation on Shira Tompkins, a runaway black girl who disappears after the stabbing and is later discovered wasn't properly enrolled in the public high school. The incident sends shockwaves through the community and reveals jarring truths about the lengths to which families will go to protect themselves. A gripping story about privilege, race, family, and belonging. Our Best Intentions shows how drastically everything can change in a single moment and the rippling effects of the choices we make and the lies we tell. So that sounded amazing. So whoever did this summary, kudos to them because it got my attention and it made me want to read this book and buy this book. And for it to be a debut sounds really good. So this will be added to my personal collection, but it sounds like a really good book. Really interesting, especially thinking about things that are going on in today's times. Another one from Dollar Tree. This one's by Lady Hubbard. It's called The Rib King. And this one also kind of features, it says that this one is, let's see, what's it feature? She has written some other books, I do believe. Yeah, she has some short fiction. She's won a few prizes. She was born in Massachusetts, raised in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Florida, and she currently lives in New Orleans. That is the author, Lady Hubbard. Again, I'll show you her picture right there on the back, just in case you want to be familiar. And this is a fascinating story about the intersection of ambition, race, and revenge. So that sounds very, very interesting. And this story centers on the employees of the once wealthy Barclay family whose fates are tied together by the shameless action of their employer and a shocking act of revenge. So again, can't wait to read this one. That's for my personal collection as well. This is a random, I think it was all from Dollar Tree. Yes. So this is just a random find that I got at Home Goods. This is a book on, you guessed it, Madonna. It's called Madonna, A Rebel Life by Mary Gabriel. And it's like an 800-page book, honestly. And this will make a good like coffee table book, but also I will eventually read it, I'm sure. But I just love books like this. And I mean, this is about her whole life. It does have some, photos and things in there too along the way. But this book was only $8 on clearance. It had been like, I think 20. So I just picked it up just for that sense, and because I do like Madonna. I think she's an awesome person, did a lot in the industry, so kudos to her. And this starts with her, this tracks her whole life, like from the beginning of her career, and then her childhood and everything else up through, current day. So it's a pretty good book. Or should be a pretty good book because she's done a lot and she stays doing a lot. And she's a trailblazer as a woman and as an artist. So again, this is Madonna. If you're a fan, check it out. Look for it. It was on clearance again at Home Goods for $8. And that one will also be in my personal library. I don't think my students, if they even know who Madonna is, I don't know if they'd be interested in reading an 800-page book on her per se. But yes, I'm going to keep that in my personal collection. Next up, I have a book that I picked up from Books A Million. I actually bought 2 books from Books A Million. One I've already taken to work because it was a book that I owned in hardback, and I got the paperback was like on a bargain sale, so I prefer paperback books. So I purchased the paperback copy to add to my collection, and I took the hardback copy that I already had to work, and it was called Internment. It's a YA novel, very good, highly recommend. I've done a separate video on it, so I think I'll link it to the end of this one just so you can see more about that book. But the other book that I picked up is called Blood at the Roots by Ladarian Williams. And this one to me it has as you can see on the cover, a black male lead. First of all, I love the books that have like, the special pages and all that stuff. So I love those. And this is also reminds me of kind of like the male version of the series that I read, the Legendborn series by Tracy Dion, that I absolutely love. Highly recommend. Right now it's a 3-book series and you can actually buy it as a set. It was like I think Target has it for like about 52 bucks for all three. They are awesome. I read through those super quick. Absolutely love them. And I feel like this is the male version. It has a similar storyline, except for it's a black male versus Legendborn has a black female lead character. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. This does incorporate kind of a HBCU experience. And this young boy, I think he finds out that he has like some magical powers that he didn't always know, but they also kind of link it in just like Legendborn does to modern day issues and being, in this case, a black male, and being black in America and things you have to deal with and how who you are, and your magic per se, can be used or can be viewed, to others in society, and how you have to use that to help you, be who you are and all of that. So this is a teenager on the run from his past, discovers the family he never knew existed, the community he never knew he needed, and the legacy he is destined to fulfill. The main character's name is Malik. It says 10 years ago, his life changed forever. The night his mother mysteriously vanished and he discovered he had uncontrollable powers. Since then, he has kept his abilities hidden, looking out for himself and his younger foster brother, Tay. Now at 17, Malik is finally ready to start a new life for both of them, far from the trauma of his past. However, a daring act to rescue Tay reveals an unexpected connection with his long-lost grandmother, a legendary conjurer with ties to a hidden magical university that Malik's mother attended. At Kamen University, Malik's eyes are open to a future he never could have envisioned for himself. His search for answers about his heritage, his powers, and what really happened to his mother exposes the cracks in their magical community, which faces a reawakened evil dating back to the Haitian Revolution. As he uncovers forbidden knowledge and buried secrets, Malik must embrace his legacy to save what's left of his old family as well as his new one. So this is very similar to, again, Legendborn, because in Legendborn, our main character, Bree, also lost her mother in a tragic way, and she is on a mission in her mission to kind of figure out the truth behind her mother's death, which was a car accident, but she feels like it was more to it. She uncovers some things about herself, so it's very similar plot. So I feel like I'm going to enjoy this because I really enjoyed Legendborn and that whole series. So this one also has a second book called Bones at the Crossroads. So I can't wait to dive into this one. This might be one of my next reads. I may be reading this in the near future and I'll report back. But I picked this one up from Barnes & Noble. I'm sorry, not Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. If you have one still in your area, I didn't think there was one near me, but then once I found it, I was happy to know. And they have a lot of good selections as well. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to get to my Barnes & Noble selections. I have 5 of them, the 4 that I mentioned that I picked up, plus one other one. So, the other day, I was just wandering in there, and I picked up the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I've heard a lot of good things about this one, seen it in a few magazines, and on, getting good reviews and everything on some of the book sites as well, like Goodreads. So I was happy to see this one. This is an exclusive Barnes & Noble's edition. I think it's because of how the pages are. They kind of have that weathered, worn, just a different type of paging. And it's a paperback, but I like it. And this one it's got a lot of awards and everything, and the title itself just seems very interesting. When I first saw the title, I really thought like, oh, that should be an interesting book. Like, what is the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store? What is that about? And so this one is in 1972. Workers in Pottstown, Pennsylvania find a skeleton at the bottom of a well. Who the skeleton was and how it got there are 2 secrets kept for decades by the residents of Chicken Hill, the neighborhood where immigrant Jews and African Americans live. When the state tries to institutionalize a deaf black boy, it is Chana Ludlow, who runs the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, and Nate Timblin, the black janitor at Mosh Ludlow's theater, who keep the boy safe. When the truth is revealed about the skeleton, the boy, and the part the town's white establishment played in both, James McBride shows us that even in dark times, it is love and community, heaven and earth, that sustain us. So very interesting. Sounds like it's going to be a very interesting book and plot. All right, and on to the other 4. Now, one thing about Barnes & Nobles is they do tend to have sales pretty frequently, like buy one get one half. So I did partake in that. I got a set of books with that deal, and even with that deal I still spent $60. So I'll start with the two that I got for the buy one get one half. The first one being Carnival by Stephanie Garber. I have seen, this is also a series, or yeah, it has a series. I have seen, I think, the other two books that go in this series in Marshalls and whatnot. And they actually had Carnival, but it was only the hardback copy. So, you know, again, I love paperbacks. So that's why I got this one from Barnes& and Noble. But I think I will go back and pick up the other two, or at least, yeah, the ones that I've seen in TJ Maxx, Marshalls, just so I can have the series, and they're much cheaper than Barnes& and Noble. Barnes& and Noble is $11.99. I think they're like $5.99 in TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls. Um, it says, remember, it's only a game. And so Carnival is kind of like Carnival is in like a fair carnival, like we know. And then I think book two is Legendary. But this one says, a legendary competition, a mesmerizing romance, an unbreakable bond between two sisters. So we meet sisters Scarlett, Dragna, and Tella is her sister. So Scarlett has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlett's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlett thinks her dreams of seeing Carnival, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. So one of the things about this, when you think about old-fashioned carnivals, where people used to go and watch and see acts and everything like that, that's the kind of vibe that this is on when you talk about carnival. It's not like the traditional fair. It's more of like when you think about when people would go see like the live performances and the audience participates in the performance. That's what it sounds like. And it says, but this year Scarlett's long dreamt of invitation finally arrives with the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella, with Scarlett away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Carnival's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's carnival revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlett has been told that everything that happens during the carnival is only an elaborate performance, but she nevertheless becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic with the other players in the game. And whether Carnival is real or not, she must find Tella before the 5 nights of the game are over. A dangerous domino effect of consequences is set off, and her sister disappears forever. Welcome, welcome to the Carnival. Beware of getting swept too far away. So that sounds very interesting here. So I can't wait to dive into that. And like I said, you can probably find that one in TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls, Home Goods, wherever. I found the hardbacks there. I just wanted a paperback copy. The second book that I bought with that deal was The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola June. Now, I read she's also the author of Everything, Everything. So if that name sounded familiar, that's probably why. It's also a movie. I liked Everything, Everything, and I heard a lot about this one, so I purchased this book. This will be going to my school library as well. And when I say my school, I mean my classroom library, not the school. And this one, did the universe bring them together only to keep them apart? Our two characters are Natasha and Daniel. So we'll be looking at them. This is a very popular book here. And Nicola June is a pretty popular author. She also has one called Instructions for Dancing. And of course, there's Everything, Everything. So I would say go ahead and check that out. Look forward to reading this. I will probably read this myself. But again, I'm going to add it to my classroom library first. Alright, and then the last two books I just paid regular price for, with the first one being Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. If that name sounds familiar, it's because she is the author of Black Cake, which is also a Hulu series now. This book was $19. This one says sometimes the only way forward is to look back. And Black Cake was about like sisters and family, and this one also has a family element to it, with secrets and all of that, and that's kind of the premise of Black Cake as well. And again, Good Dirt, Charmaine Wilkerson. And last but not least, I have read a book by this author, and I absolutely enjoyed it, and I absolutely love. This is a beautiful book here. If nothing else, it just looks pretty. But this one is by Tara Shelton Harris. It's called Where the Wildflowers Grow, and I did read her other book, One Summer in Savannah. I really enjoyed that one. This one sounds similar but different situation, but has some similar elements. Leah is the or Lee is the main character, female here. She is the last of the Wilds. She knows this because she watched them all die. And so grief never truly fades, and even as the tragedy haunts her, Lee carries on because survival is in her blood. So when the transport bus taking her to prison careens off the road, killing everyone on board except her, she does what's in her nature. She survives. While searching for a place to hide, Leah stumbles upon an unexpected sanctuary, a flower farm in rural Alabama tucked away from the world. What Lee doesn't expect is the found family there who have built something from the wreckage of their own lives, especially Jackson, the farm's owner, who sees through Lee's defenses, offers her small moments of tenderness, and encourages her to face her own tragedies. Slowly, Lee finds peace with the hard pace and soft nature of the farm, taking comfort in the life blooming around her. Maybe she's not beyond redemption, not too broken for something good, and maybe, just maybe, Lee starts to heal. But the past isn't so easily buried. No matter how far she runs, the truth of who she is and the ghosts of the wilds follow. And when those secrets catch up to her, threatening everything she's come to love, Lee will have to truly face what she can survive. Sounds like another great book from Tara Sheldon Harris. If you haven't read One Summer in Savannah, I would also recommend picking that one up. It deals also with a female character that has to kind of relive and uncover, kind of go through some healing in order to move forward with her life as well. So I look forward to reading this one because, like I say, One Summer in Savannah, I found that to be a good book as well. And this is what the pages look like, just in case you're wondering on the inside. But it's just a really pretty book. All right, so those are all of my new books that I have picked up in the past couple of weeks. The ones I still have here, like I said, I do have some that I've already taken to my classroom library, but those are more YA books that I added. And I would highly recommend checking out, like I said, Dollar Tree for some bargains and some good books that are current. You'll find tons of things. At least mine, I have a few Dollar Trees that I can choose from, so the selection is different in each one, and I found all types of varieties of books in those stores. So let me know down below, what are you currently reading? What types of books or genre of books do you prefer? And as an adult, do you find yourself gravitating towards YA, which is young adult novels? As an English teacher, high school English teacher, I find myself reading a lot of YA just because, one, I like to find good books to add to my classroom library for my students, but also YA books are not very childish because YA is young adult and it's usually teenager and young adult, like in your early 20s. So I don't think just because it's YA that you should feel like, oh, it's going to be a kiddie book. It really does a lot of times they do deal with some real issues that are happening. And they put things into perspective, and sometimes I think it can help you understand where kids in this generation maybe looking or feeling like what perspectives they have on certain issues. So I think it's really important to tap into some of those YA books from time to time. But in general, I just, if it sounds good, I'm gonna pick it up and want to read it regardless of whether it's YA or not. But either way, let me know what you guys like to read. What are you currently reading? And if you have any other recommendations, either from some of the authors that you already saw, or if you have any new recommendations that you think might be interesting or good to add to a high school classroom library. See you next time.